Hi everyone and welcome to a new video with me, Derek aka Sal, the Omega Enthusiast. In this episode of We Speak Time, our guest is Erica, also known as the Omega Watch Lover on Instagram. I will leave a direct link to her account in the description box below. Erica is a civil engineer by profession from the states of California. Not to mention that she is still in her early 20s. Long story short, we met through Instagram chat a few years ago, and initially I thought Erica was a gentleman until maybe a year later when I realized she was a girl after knowing her names. I've been reaching out to watch collectors out there to see if they're interested in sharing their collection on this channel. So if you're interested in sharing your collection and watch journey with us, please email me. I also started my watch journey at a young age, but my collection at the time was nowhere comparable to what Erica will share with us in this video. She will be our first female guest, and I am excited to share her collection and watch stories with you guys. So without further ado, let's get started.
Hey everyone, my name is Erica. I'm a vintage Omega and Rolex collector. I'm super excited to show you all a part of my collection. I'm going to show about 8 watches today from both brands and tell you a bit about my watch collecting journey. So before I start, I just want to thank Sal for inviting me on this series. He's been a great friend and a really impressive collector, and I just continue to learn a lot from him. Okay, so I started collecting watches when I was about 17 years old, pretty much the same time I got my first job. It sort of makes sense because, well, I finally had some money, and of course I wanted to buy a nice watch, buy whatever I wanted. And yeah, before that I always admired watches. Even as a kid, I would cut up the fashion watches from Macy's magazines and put them on my wrist. I just knew I'd get into them someday, but I didn't know I'd get this into them. As I go through my collection, you'll probably notice that I don't have any quartz watches. I have had a very bad experience with them. The first watch I bought was actually quartz, and it broke within a few months, which sucked. I was out of a watch and $50, kind of why I hate quartz watches. There's no soul in them. It's a waste of money, honestly. I think you can get so much more out of an automatic or mechanical movement, especially with vintage. It'll last you a lifetime as long as you maintain and service the movement, of course. Enough of that rant and enough about me. I'm going to start talking watches, and so let's start off with these 2 vintage Omegas. The cool thing about them is that they're both from 1956 and obviously have patina. Now, in the vintage watch world, one of the bigger questions is it patina or is it damage? For me, if the aging is even across the entire dial, that's patina. If there's a random spot that's darker or lighter on the dial, that's damage. This constellation right here is a reference 2852. It has beautiful arrowhead markers, a crosshair, and amazing patina in my opinion. And luckily enough, it also has a pretty nice unpolished case. I really like the constellation line, believe it or not, because of the case back. There's a cool medallion with the observatory and stars. I think it's a neat touch, especially it being solid yellow gold. I have the watch on an original Omega Beads of Rice bracelet. Not sure if it's original to the watch. Sal can give you an accurate answer on that. I still think it looks good. Number 11 end links, number 12 clasp. I obviously need to get the bracelet sized. As you can see, it's a bit big on me. I'll probably remove some links, most likely have to pry some open. And here it is on my wrist in the sun. I've had other case models before, like dogleg lugs, cushion cases, lyre lugs, but the early 50s case is my favorite. So I'm definitely happy that I have another in my collection again. Now, this Speedmaster right here has way more patina than the Constellation. It's nothing I've ever seen or have had in my collection before, so I think it's really unique. This dial is amazing, and on top of that it has brigade numerals and a sub-seconds dial. I think I prefer that over the center seconds on this case model. I actually got this watch back from service just in time for this video, so huge thanks to my friend Paul. He's on Instagram at Pastime Vintage. It's running within a second a day, which is just incredible. And this is another example of the sort of cases that I like. This one is called a beefy lug Speedmaster. The lugs are beefy. I think that's where it gets its name. I like how it sits on my wrist, how sort of thin it is. This one has a case back where the text is still legible. I wouldn't have guessed that I would choose watches like these with patina, but they're super nice, so I like them. Here's another Omega, but it's not your typical Omega, and you were probably surprised when I said it's an Omega. I actually didn't even know this model existed until I saw it on Sal's Instagram, and once I did, I knew I had to get my hands on one. It's called the Omega St.Christopher watch, reference 2041, from the 1930s to 1940s. The blue chrome tans can tell you that it's from that era. Take a look at the attention to detail on this dial. It shows St. Christopher carrying what I like to call baby Jesus across a river. Here it is on my wrist. It's a pretty tiny watch. You probably can't tell because I have tiny wrists. But check it out next to my Speedmaster. Big difference. If you're into vintage watches, I think you know what a Speedmaster is. Speedmasters are the Omega icons, the watches that went to the moon, you know, all that marketing stuff. And I guess, are you really a vintage Omega collector without one? I don't think so, but I'm just kidding. So yeah, this is my 1966 Omega Speedmaster 105.01266 CB case. It's incredible. And it's pretty freaking expensive too, especially a pre-moon, pre-1970s watch like this. And look, my chronograph doesn't even work. I sort of like buying Soltez's watches. Most of the time it's cheaper, and it's a vintage watch. It's going to need a service down the line, so unless you're going to service the watch yourself, you're gonna have to pay up. I mentioned earlier that this is a CB case. You can tell by the straight facets on the lugs. Most get polished away, but not this one. Okay, so that concludes my vintage Omega collection. If you remember from the beginning, I also said I'm a Rolex collector. Here is one of 2 vintage full sets that I own. I love the green box, the green color of Rolex. This is the outer box, and inside, this is the Rolex booklet and Rolex guarantee paper. They have the watch's serial number punched into them. You might hear about punched papers for vintage Rolex, and that's what it means. Inside this box is a 1970 Rolex Datejust, reference 1603. I feel extremely lucky to own this watch because I bought it from the son of a late collector, and it was one of his watches. I admire the collector that he was. I can just feel that he loved watches and loved to take care of them. I mean, look at the condition of the watch. It's unpolished, the case, and he kept everything from the boxes to the papers from when he bought it in Ohio on December 29th, 1970. The dial is just perfect, and the tritium plots too. You don't typically see that at all. I think he was just on another level. Since he bought it in the US, it comes on a US Jubilee. I think the quality isn't as great as the Swiss made ones, but that's alright. I absolutely love the Rolex 36mm Oyster case. I believe it'll look great on anyone's wrist. The matte black dial on this and the yellow patina are just perfection. I would maybe wear this every day if I could, if I didn't have so many watches, but that's not the case, is it? I don't know if you guys noticed, but vintage Omegas come with the red boxes, and to be honest, the red leather on there isn't as great as these green Rolex boxes. I know I said that I have 2 vintage full sets to show, but technically this is a neo-vintage Rolex. This one is from Pennsylvania, so also a USA full set. This is more of a full set because it has the red tag, white tag with serial, cloth, and this Rolex sleeve that has many contents. I'll show you. Here is the guarantee paper. It'll show the original owner, the AD, authorized dealer that he bought it at, and some Rolex manuals that I don't really read, but it's nice to have in a set, of course. And look, another green Rolex box. This is a 2002 K-Serial Rolex Explorer 2 polar dial. It's called polar because of the super white dial. You'll see what I mean. I really like this Rolex box for the Explorer. The pillow is just super soft and it won't scratch anything. The watch itself is incredible. It's unpolished. It has holds lugs, so it's easy for me to remove the bracelet and put on a leather or a NATO, however I feel. I like how secure the bracelet feels with this double clasp, I guess you call, maybe oyster lock clasp. But yeah, when I put it on, it feels amazing. 40mm case. The modern ones are just huge, like 42mm. I always liked this model when I saw it online, but when I saw it in Vegas in person at a Torno, they have a pre-owned section, I was in love. I just needed something like that. And this one still has the case back sticker. I think I'm gonna leave it on. It's been on there since 2002, I'm assuming. You might have noticed that I'm also wearing a Rolex, or maybe I hit it well enough. But this is my Explorer 1. It was a gift from Erica to Erica. I graduated college, so I wanted to get something nice for myself. And being a vintage collector myself, this is about the closest thing you can get to an Explorer reference 1016. And no, I didn't miss this watch. I actually made this my last watch to present on purpose. It means a lot to me. Came from a really good friend. He got the case back engraved. I don't know too much about Eterna, but this dial is freaking nice. The shiny mirror black dial, or whatever you call it, with that gold. Yeah, it's a cool dress watch. I'll definitely save it for special occasions. He even got it serviced too, so that was awesome. That is about 8 watches, my entire collection. Thank you for watching, and I hope you guys get into some vintage Omegas and vintage Rolex if you're not already collecting them. Hopefully I encouraged you to check them out. They're really great watches. You can really explore many models, many case shapes, dial configurations, different eras. My point is, there is so much to explore. Your watch collecting journey is endless. It's never going to end. I know mine isn't. So good luck, and thank you for watching again.
I hope you enjoy Erica's collection and learn about her watch collecting journey. If you want more content like this, give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing. I look forward to sharing episode 6 in the near future. Of course, you can always support my work on Patreon. If you have any comment or question, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the following video.